A highly anticipated phone call between U.S. President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin ended with a limited agreement for Russia to halt strikes against energy infrastructure in Ukraine, which Kyiv quickly said it would be willing to consider. The Kremlin said Putin ordered the Russian military to halt the strikes against energy facilities in Ukraine. But Putin stopped short of accepting a broader U.S.-backed 30-day ceasefire that Ukraine has said it is ready to accept. In a statement after Tuesday's call, the White House said, quote, "The leaders agreed that the movement to peace will begin with an energy and infrastructure ceasefire, as well as technical negotiations on implementation of a maritime ceasefire in the Black Sea, full ceasefire, and permanent peace." The Kremlin said Putin had raised concerns about a truce being used by Ukraine to mobilize more soldiers and rearm itself. Putin also said that any resolution of the conflict would require an end to all military and intelligence assistance to Ukraine. Later, Trump said on Truth Social that the call was productive, with an understanding that the leaders will be, quote, "working quickly to have a complete ceasefire and ultimately an end to the war." Trump's overtures to Putin since returning to the White House have left traditional U.S. allies wary. Ukraine and its Western allies have long described Russia's invasion as an imperialist land grab, and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has accused Putin of deliberately prolonging the war. After Tuesday's call, the Kremlin said that Russia and Ukraine would conduct another prisoner exchange on Wednesday, trading 175 people from each side.
NASA astronauts Butch Wilmore and Suni Williams finally returned to Earth in a SpaceX capsule on Tuesday. The crew enjoyed a soft splashdown off Florida's coast and were welcomed back by a pod of curious dolphins. Their return caps a protracted space mission that was fraught with uncertainty, technical problems, and political spectacle. They were stuck in space for 9 months after their faulty Boeing Starliner craft upended what was meant to be a week-long stay on the International Space Station. Issues with the Starliner's propulsion system led to cascading delays to their return home. Then the mission got caught up in politics after it captured the attention of US President Donald Trump. He called for a quicker return of Wilmore and Williams when he took office. He also alleged, without evidence, that former President Joe Biden abandoned the pair on the ISS for political reasons. NASA acted on Trump's demands by moving Crew 9's replacement mission up sooner, according to the agency's ISS chief, Joel Montalbano, on Tuesday.
See, we work for the president, and who's ever there, we work for them. We had an input from that office. We took a look at it. And, our job is to take all the inputs we get and operate as successful and safely as we can. And that's what we did for this administration, and that's what we would do for any administration.
The agency had swapped a delayed SpaceX capsule for one that would be ready more quickly. They said they sped through its methodical safety review process to heed the president's call. Wilmore told reporters earlier this month on a call from the ISS that he did not believe NASA's decision to keep them on the station had been affected by politics under the Biden administration. SpaceX CEO Elon Musk, a close advisor to Trump, had echoed Trump's call for an earlier return. He said the Biden administration spurned a SpaceX offer to provide a dedicated Dragon spacecraft rescue mission last year. NASA officials said the 2 astronauts had to remain on the ISS to maintain adequate staffing levels. They said they did not have the budget or the operational need to send a dedicated rescue spacecraft. Crew Dragon flights cost between $100 million to $150 million. Boeing had hoped Starliner would compete with the SpaceX capsule, but this mission has thrown its development future into uncertainty. NASA's Commercial Crew Program Chief, Steve Stick, said on Tuesday that Starliner needs more tests before it routinely carries U.S. astronauts.
We're certainly looking at Starliner very carefully. We're in the process of looking at that vehicle, looking at the helium system. We've got some candidate seals that we're going to replace. We'll get into some testing here over the summer timeframe with what we call an integrated doghouse at White Sands. So we're looking at that.
Boeing, which congratulated the astronauts' return on X, did not immediately respond to a request for comment.
Soldiers were deployed to the streets of Peru's capital on Tuesday after the government declared a state of emergency to help quell a recent surge in violence. The government's move follows weeks of escalating criminal activity, blamed on groups that often target businesses, including transportation companies. There's also been a jump in extortion rackets. Among the victims of the crime wave is prominent musician Paul Flores, whose funeral was held Monday. He had been riding in a bus on Sunday when it came under fire from unknown assailants. Police said he died after being shot. The 30-day emergency decree applies to Lima, as well as neighboring Callao province. It grants authorities additional powers to deploy the military to combat lawlessness. Residents told Reuters they felt safer with the military's presence.
We see that authorities and the president aren't responding. So the decision to take the military to the street is very good. Because I know that criminals are afraid of the military.
On Monday, President Dina Boluarte said she would like to see murderers face capital punishment, which is currently only allowed for convicted traitors. In recent years, officials have repeatedly declared emergencies when criminal activity or social unrest spikes.
China's Xiaomi beat analyst forecasts in the fourth quarter. It reported Tuesday a near 50% jump in revenue to more than $15 billion for the period. The company also raised its target for electric vehicle deliveries to 350,000 this year. Xiaomi began manufacturing EVs last year with the launch of the SU7 sedan. It had mostly sold smartphones, household appliances and smart gadgets for the majority of its 25-year history. Xiaomi reported $4.4 billion in revenue for its EV business last year and delivered more than 135,000 SU7 sedans. The adjusted net loss related to its EV and other new initiatives reached $857 million. Xiaomi's fourth quarter global smartphone shipments also rose 5% from a year earlier to 42.7 million handsets. Industry data from Canalys put it third globally with a market share of 13%. It also showed shipments in China surged 29% to 12.2 million handsets over the same period. Xiaomi also said it plans to expand its store network across China this year. And it wants to open 10,000 new Mi Home stores overseas in the next 5 years. Investors were excited and shares closed up 3.3% Monday before the earnings release. The company's shares have surged 284% over the past 12 months as its EV project boosted investors' confidence.